I would say that I am moderately optimistic by the simple reason it was so bad, the previous situation, that any improvement will bring reasonable prospects for Brazil.
I'll talk now to Simão Silber, professor at University of São Paulo. Professor, do you expect a recovery here in Brazil with this new temporary government of Michel Temer?
Yeah, we think so. We have some simulations what could happen in Brazil in the near future. Not in 2016, because we are in the middle of the year, and Temer entered into office. It doesn't take 1 week ago. So we expect by the end of this year and to 2017 a small recovery on GDP, something close to 1% in the next year, by the simple reason we are making a very radical substitution in macroeconomic administration, and we had a very bad, poor administration previously, and by the first signs of this new government, it seems for us economists that we were going to have a more reasonable, sustainable macroeconomic policy.
Professor, what is your opinion about the names chosen for the ministries?
They are very good ones, very experienced people, people that were previously in the government. They are important administrators in the private sector. So I think that comparing with the previous administration, there is a big improvement.
And what about the finance minister?
He is a very tested person. He was a central bank director, president in the Lula government during 8 years. He's a very successful banker. He was managing a new bank in Brazil now. And he's a person with a very clear mind about objectives, what has to be done to change the mood, expectations about Brazil. I am fairly confident that this new government, this is provisional government, is going to have a very good job in the next 2.5 years.
Besides Henrique Meirelles as our finance minister during this period, we have also a new name for the central bank, Ilan Goldfarb. What is your opinion about him?
He's also a very well-trained economist. He was economist at the IMF. He is a previous central bank director. He was a director previously also at a large private bank in Brazil. So he's a very suited person to be the president of the central bank.
We have a semester ahead with this new situation. Do you think, Professor, it's enough to recover the confidence of the investors here and abroad?
I would say that in the next 100 days, they are very important. If the government is able to approve a series of measures on the fiscal side in our Congress, this confidence will come back very easily by the end of this year.
What about the mood here in the university among the professors and also among the students?
We are quite divided here because at the university there is a large spectrum of thoughts, and I would say those that are more nationalistic, interventionist, they are fairly uncomfortable about the Temer government. And those that are more pro-market, liberal, they are expecting a lot of this new government. So there is not a clear position. I would say there is a large split among those that are more liberal, those that are more pro-government in terms what to expect in the near future. I think this reflects the political division in Brazil now.
You talked in the beginning of this interview about your projection for the GDP and your projection also for the inflation here in Brazil.
Brazil will start to grow something close to 1% in 2017, and we expect by our model simulation that by 2018 we are start to grow what is our potential of growth at this moment, something close to 2% per year till the end of this decade. In terms of inflation, our target is 4%. Probably we are going to, our inflation now is 9.3%. We are going to go in the next 3 years in the direction of our target, that's 4% per year.
And what do you foresee for the interest rate here in Brazil?
Interest rate is very high in Brazil at this moment due to high inflation and this uncertainty that political uncertainty that diminished when we had the impeachment, the beginning of the impeachment of the previous president. And we expect, we project by the end of this decade something like 7 or 8% of nominal interest rate in Brazil by the end of this decade.
And the foreign exchange rate, what do you see in the future during this year and next year?
The exchange rate in the last 3 to 4 months had a fall. We have a revaluation of the Brazilian currency due to the foreign scenario that's more stable and what happened in terms of change of government in Brazil. So our exchange rate now is running close to 3.5 reais, our domestic currency, to the US dollar. We expect by the end of this year to be close to this number, and next year around 370 or 380 to $1. So a fairly stable exchange rate in the next 2 years for Brazil.
So, Professor, with all this information you gave us, it seems you are very optimistic with this new scenario now here in the country.
I would say that I am moderately optimistic by the simple reason it was so bad, the previous situation, that any improvement will bring reasonable prospects for Brazil. Brazil is a country with a strong potential for growth if well controlled with a fairly reasonable macroeconomic policy. And I think we are going gradually into this direction.
Professor Simão Silber, thank you so much for joining us again here in Dukascopy TV.
Okay, thank you very nice to have you again here at the University of São Paulo. And till the next time.
Until the next time, Luciane Miranda to Dukascopy TV.